Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, June. We're in June, guys. June 2nd. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast. I am your host, Griffin Palmer, joined, as always, by my co-hosts, CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What is up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Not too much, man. How you guys doing? You feeling good?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah, you know, doing all right.
You guys see Wonder Woman yet?
Could be better, could be worse.
Nope.
I did. I enjoyed it.
Soon.
How was it? It was good?
It was good. I mean, it was an origin story, and I'm not a fan of origin stories, as, you know, I mean, of course, I went into it knowing it was her origin story. Not a fan of origin story movies as a whole, because you know how they end. But they did a pretty good job with her origin. They made a couple tweaks. They did some things a little bit differently. But I was glad. And without any spoilers, there was a supervillain fight, which I know was a big concern for a lot of people. That, you know, all the advertisements showing, oh, well, it's her versus the Germans, but it's a superhero movie. Where's the superhero showdown? Well, they had it, so it was good. I'm glad they didn't show any of that in the trailer, so I enjoyed it. But
there you go.
Back to football. We have an amazing show for you guys today. Today, we are going to continue and basically finalize our consensus early rankings, at least for the standard positions. We're going to be going into the tight end position. So we're going to try and get through all of our tight end ones and maybe some bonus ones if we have the time. Of course, we're also going to bring you all the top headlines from around the league, so we have a lot to get to, and we're going to try and get to it all as quickly as possible. So, as always, please make sure you guys subscribe to the show, iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Twitter, Facebook. You can email us and also support the show on Patreon at patreon.com, which gets you bonus perks, including bonus episodes every single week. So we're going to move right into our top headlines from around the league. A couple things to talk to today as OTAs are going on. We're getting little bits of news. Now, a lot of this is 110% off-season fluff. Beat writers are desperately looking for stuff to talk about, and we're trying to sift through the more relevant stuff to talk about here because we don't want to just be throwing useless crap your way. There'll be some of it just because it's laughable. So we'll start, though, in the quarterback position with Chicago, where quarterback Mark Sanchez reportedly will miss the rest of the offseason workouts due to a knee injury. However, reports are he should be ready for camp. So, that's unfortunate for him, but I don't think any of us were expecting him to be the starting quarterback anyway. So, I mean, I don't even. He's going to be the third quarterback there, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I read that and I said, oh no.
Oh no!
Never know, man. He could be the Dak Prescott this year.
The bad thing is, between a rookie, Mike Glennon, and Mark Sanchez, I could easily say that it might actually be a competition. So, we'll see.
Yep.
I am not a fan of Mike Glennon, but we know this. Moving on. Running back news. Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Terry Robiskie, I think is how you say it. Robiskie, that is right. Yes, I knew it when I heard it. He reported. I can't believe I'm so bad at reading names. I know them, I can't read them. He promised to find ways to get both DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry in the offense this season. So sounds like
smash mouth.
Yeah, it sounds like a harmless little headline, but in reality, I hate this report because all this is telling me is that Derrick Henry is going to be on the field being used even more often. So it's further proving that all the stuff we heard previously that DeMarco Murray was going to be still the guy is becoming less and less likely. So
Or is it?
I mean, this is the time of year of misdirection, but I mean, they would be crazy to not be doing this. Derrick Henry would be a starter on a lot of teams around the league right now. So we expected this going into the offseason. We heard reports that it was going to become more of a timeshare. Then they came out and they squashed that, and now we're hearing these reports. So that's why I find that, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there might be a little bit of truth to this. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. The Chicago... The Chicago Sun-Times' Adam Janis, he reports that Jordan Howard is, quote, notably slimmer than he was as a rookie. So...
Or noticeably.
I mean, yeah, this kind of concerns me because though the slimming down is good for, you know, speed and quickness and agility, people tend to get hurt when they drop a lot of weight as well. They have their playing style when they're slimmer. They can't absorb the hits as well. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying this is bad news, but I have a little bit of concern surrounding this. I thought Jordan Howard performed perfectly fine last season. I mean, he was a top 10 fantasy running back, obviously, and he basically didn't start for the first quarter of the season. What are your guys' thoughts here?
I mean, notably slimmer. I think I'm looking at the positives. You know, I think that that's like just like you said, it's going to probably improve in speed and him just be able to get in and out of tackles and stuff like that. But as far as damage to his body, I don't see it being that bad where he's a twig out there and he can't be able to absorb hits. I think he still can be able to do that, but yet be able to maintain speed and be more effective in the offense.
That's the dream.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a reporter saying this, and like we said, reporters are looking for anything to talk about. And,
yes.
Yeah, and he probably sees this guy all year, so yeah, maybe he came back. Oh, he's noticeably slimmer. I don't know. Until we hear something from the team saying, okay, he used to weigh 245 pounds, now he weighs 225 pounds or something crazy like that. I'm not reading too much into this.
We're essentially 2 months away from actually relevant news, but only 97 days away from the start of football. So, hey, it's getting closer. Moving on.
Right.
Woo! Amir Abdullah revealed his foot injury in 2016 was, in fact, a Liz Frank tear. Now,
ouch.
Yeah, that explains a lot. I mean, we knew it was serious. He missed the season, but this was the first I remember hearing a definitive explanation. So that's something that
it's been kind of murky the whole time.
Yeah, people don't generally come back from that very quickly, but reports are that he's going to be coming back into a featured role. So, I mean, hey, Amir Abdullah, he could be a really nice post-hype sleeper for us because people were kind of high on him last year. Obviously, disappointed with being injured. So, look, he's really far down draft boards right now. You might be able to get a steal later on. We'll have to monitor and see how he goes. Obviously, injury concerns are a thing, but I don't know. He's been in the league for 2 years. I don't think that's a large enough sample size to really know who he is yet. Let's see. The Santa Rosa Press-Democrat reports that Carlos Hyde looked like, quote, the slowest and most indecisive running back on the team. So, couple things here.
That doesn't sound like Carlos Hyde.
Yeah. One, yes, it is a new offensive coordinator. He is not the guy who the regime has brought in. Obviously, they acquired a guy through the draft. Carlos Hyde was already there. We've been hearing all these rumbles about him being succeeded, not fitting in, whatever the case may be. But also, I don't know how much I trust this publication. The Santa Rosa Press-Democrat, this is one of the first reports I remember ever seeing from them, and it doesn't specify that it's a sports journal at all, so I don't really know where this news is really coming from.
It sounds like a newspaper you find like at a library.
Exactly.
Like in the history section.
I mean, look, we could be wrong. Jason, you're the closest to that general area. Have you ever heard of this newspaper before?
I've heard of Santa Rosa. I mean, I've never heard of the Press-Democrat. That's very... I mean, no, I'm saying, if it was like some town you'd never heard of, Snuffville, California, and you're like, what? So at least I've heard of the town, but that's weird. I had not heard of, I haven't even heard of a publication called The Democrat before. That's weird.
Yeah. So, Joe Williams, we know that they drafted him. They liked him. Kyle Shanahan really wanted to get him. Maybe this is worth noting, but as a whole, I'm not trusting it till we see actual footage, training camp. They're running around in shorts right now. Come on.
Right. A lot of times you get a lot of these reporters and people that they really want to see the rookie. They really want to see
also
the next guy up. So they start seeing ghosts and things that aren't necessarily there. Not to say Carlos Hyde is performing fantastically. I haven't seen him personally, but it's Carlos Hyde. He's extremely talented, and Joe Williams is very talented too. But we've seen a lot of stuff out of Carlos Hyde, nothing out of Williams in the NFL. So I don't read too much into this.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to fly out to San Francisco OTAs yet, so I can't really say for myself.
In your spare time.
In my spare time, exactly. Let's see. Cleveland head coach Hugh Jackson says that he is committed to running the ball more in 2017. So that is a great vote of confidence for Isaiah Correll, which we're all kind of secretly high on, as we talked about in the running back episodes of our rankings. We're a little bit higher on him than the rest of the industry at this point. And Indianapolis,
I can't wait.
It's something to watch. I think, again, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's been a lot of good stuff circulating around Isaiah Crowell this offseason. And the Indianapolis Colts have signed unrestricted free agent running back Christine Michaels. He will not go away. So,
what is that, like a 40th team or something?
Those United miles are just flying up, baby.
It's like his.
He's going to be able to go to Hawaii for free.
I should look this up. I know that it's hard to, if he didn't play, it's hard to track, but I think this is like his 6th team in 3 years, something crazy like that. So yeah.
Good grief.
Moving. Oh no, wait, never. Wait, yeah. Nope, we're good. Moving on to wide receiver news. Chicago wide receiver Cameron Meredith suffered a thumb ligament injury. He should be back by camp by all reports. So this is a guy that most people were assuming to be the number 1 or obviously a starting wide receiver for the Bears. So that's obviously a blow that is a big downer, especially while you're trying to get a rapport with one of these 3 quarterbacks that they have there. Also, Arizona wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald reported that 3rd-round rookie wide receiver Chad Williams reminds him of a young Anquan Bolden. So that's quite the vote of confidence. What do you think about that, Jason?
Well, Larry doesn't throw a lot of those kinds of compliments around very often.
True.
He doesn't really, especially with rookies and stuff like that. So good to hear that. And it's really funny because he specifically mentioned, I watched the whole interview, obviously. And during the interview, he said specifically his hand strength, the way he catches the ball. When the ball hits him in the hand, the ball does not move. It locks in. It's good to hear that because I actually tweeted Kyle Odegaard recently, who's one of the reporters out there for azcardinals.com, and asked him about that because we've heard a lot of stuff about Chad Williams' athleticism and his speed and all the stuff, but I hadn't heard anything about his hands or if he had any focus drops. And Odegaard said, I don't know about everybody else, but I haven't seen this guy drop a single pass yet from anyone. So it's really good stuff to hear.
Good news. All right, something to potentially watch. Possession receivers. They've got speed receivers. They need more possession guys. Let's see. Tight end news. Reports are coming out of Miami that Julius Thomas is going to have, quote, multiple plays tailored for him. So, guys, I mean, obviously we haven't gotten into the tight end rankings yet, but what does this tell you?
I need to see it. I still need to see it, and I'm gonna go in a little more about it when we talk about the tight ends later. But I mean, this is news. I'm gonna bring this argument back up when we talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Julius Thomas, but he new face a new place, coming off injuries. There's a lot of down stuff about him, and that's nice to hear. But tailoring a play to a player before he even develops a rapport with the quarterback, that bothers me a little bit.
But he's got a rapport with the offensive coordinator / head coach.
Is the offensive coordinator throwing them the ball?
No.
Then I don't care.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's true. But a lot of initial reports are also saying that Ryan Tannehill has not been looking good. But, I mean, come on. Again, it's not training camp yet. Get over it, guys.
Exactly. OTAs, calm down.
Exactly. And in a little bit of other news, this was kind of a breaking headline yesterday. Cleveland traded linebacker Demario Davis to the New York Jets, which was his former team, by the way, in exchange for former first-round pick Calvin Pryor, who was a first-round safety 2 years ago, I think it was. So, obviously, the Jets drafted 2 safeties early in this year's draft, so it looks like they are changing direction with their new defensive schemes, and Calvin Pryor was not a fit for that. So Cleveland finally gets that safety that they've been looking for all this time, and Pryor gets a chance to try and revitalize his career.
Freaking Cleveland, man. They are awesome this offseason. These guys are like doing all sorts of. They got Kirksey just recently. They signed him to an extension, and they got Jabril Peppers now. They bring in Calvin Pryor. Oh my gosh, they're going to look really, really good this year.
It's all about that Sashi Brown.
I still don't think they get to 8-8, just for the record.
All right, well,
are you sticking by that, CJ? Are you getting back on that train?
I don't know. They might.
It's starting to look interesting, man. If one of those quarterbacks is able to at least protect the ball, and they've got a good running game now, they got a decent line. Their defense is looking really good. I don't know. They might be able to surge for 8.
They might.
I still think they're a 5 to 6 win team at this point, which is a huge step forward from a 1-win team. It's a process. For sure.
So either way, they're going to be better this year, no matter what.
Well, I mean, it's hard to be worse than 1 win, but yes, I get your point.
0.
I mean, that's why it's hard to be worse.
Detroit.
It is possible.
Ask Detroit.
That's fair. We're gonna move on. That's just mean. All right, so we're gonna move on to our topic of the day, which is our early consensus tight end rankings.
One.
Did I? Oh no, I wanted. See, my subconscious wanted to skip that one because it makes me sad.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
The Baltimore Ravens cornerback Tavon Young suffered a torn ACL in OTAs yesterday.
That's
This
the thing.
was our
Right.
second-year corner who was really a breakout last year, was becoming kind of a really good ball hawk. He's a smaller guy. He was going to be moving into his natural position, playing nickel corner this year, and everybody was expecting him to have a big breakout year, probably going to be very commonly in the starting rotation, and now his season is done, and I'm crying a little.
Over.
So this is, I mean, at least we acquired a corner and drafted a corner, so we got some
sad,
depth.
sad music right now. You playing some sad music?
Yeah, there should be sad music for this.
Sad or something, or
Okay,
like
I
a
got
raven
some- I
getting
got some.
shot or something.
I don't want that. That's a little
A
graphic.
raven getting shot.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Unnecessary. So one of our promising young defensive backs will miss his sophomore season, which of course means having to come back for injury, rehabilitation, getting back on the horse, going into development, and having to go through the process all over again. So sad to see. Didn't want to talk about it. Clearly my subconscious wanted to skip it. And now we're going to move on to the topic of the day, which is our early consensus tight end rankings, right? No drawbacks. Everybody's good to go. We're good. All right, cool.
Good to go.
Now,
I think you got everything.
just want to make sure nobody was going to stop me again. Now, we, as always, want to break this down. Stop it. We are doing our consensus top 12. These are our starters. So this is standard league, and we're with standard we're saying a 12-team league, and this is our consensus rankings. When you put our three individual rankings together, this is what we get. Now, with the tight ends, with most positions, when you go through the number ones, it's a bit of nitpicking more than anything, but obviously with how terrible the position was as a whole last year, I think we're going to get into some pretty decent debates just going through the starters here, because there's a lot of, once you get past the top 4 to 5 guys, there's a lot of different directions people tend to go in with the tight end position, so it should get a little bit interesting. And again, this is not the end-all be-all list. This list will change probably as early as later today. It's just us trying to present with you, the listener, with all the information that we have available that we can possibly give you at this point to give you guys the most information to make an informed decision. That's what we're here to do. If you guys feel differently, that's great. That's why everyone has their individual rankings. Our rankings don't match up, and we don't expect yours to, so that's kind of half the fun. So with that, we're going to get started. We're going to start with the number 1 tight end, our consensus number 1, Rob Gronkowski. I think that there's little to no shock there. We all consensus had him as number 1, so we actually all agreed. Have we agreed on the top player for every single position so far? I think we have. So
I believe.
Yeah,
I believe we have. So that's exciting. He is currently going as the number 1 tight end, and he's creeped back up into the second round. We've been seeing him go in the third. He's going as the 7th pick in the second round. So guys, why are we so high on Rob Gronkowski, a player who missed half the season last year and hasn't played a full season since 2011?
Well, I mean, you know the history of this guy, man. You know when he's on the field, you see what him and Brady do. You see the production that this man has. I mean, he's that guy. Now, with I think that he should be able to play a full season this year because he's not the offense is different. I mean, he's not going to be the focal point of the offense, which is going to be able to give him more games that he's going to be able to play. And I think he's going to be able to be more productive and be able to last longer for you if you draft him high. That's just my feelings about it.
Jason?
I don't know about not be the focal point.
You
I
beat
think
me
he's
to it,
still gonna be
Jason.
The focal point of that offense.
I agree.
What's that?
No, I agree. You beat me to it.
Oh. Yeah, I still think he's going to be the focal point. I mean, there's more. You kind of have a point, CJ. There's more draping around him. I mean, they brought in Cooks, and they've done a great job of bringing in a lot of talent, and they've got like 16 or 17 running backs or something crazy. So, I mean, they got a lot of options, but I still think Rob Gronkowski is going to be the number 1 target.
I mean, the bottom line is Rob Gronkowski is a force to be reckoned with. He is undeniably, when healthy, the best tight end in football. There's only 1 or maybe 2 other guys you can even put in the same realm as him. He has never played a season where he didn't play at least double-digit games where he didn't get you double-digit touchdowns. And, of course, touchdowns are gold, especially from the tight end position, which generally don't get you a ton of yardage. Also being said, this guy, when healthy, almost always gets you over 1,000 yards as well. He's a great blocker. He's a great pass catcher. I still think he is the primary weapon in that offense. offense. He looks to be healthy again from everything we've seen from WrestleMania through off-season trainings, through OTAs and beat writers. Everybody's saying Gronk is back. And I think everyone feels like, because he's been in the league for a while, he got drafted in 2010, so everyone thinks he's like ancient, but he's only 28 years old. So, I mean, he's not that old. He's still in his prime. He seems to be healthy. He's got great rapport with Tom Brady. I think he's still the primary, especially the primary red zone weapon. I think everything else, like Jason said, is being used to divert away from him, but I think when it's time to strike, it's still going to Gronk primarily. So I love Gronk. Yes, there is risk involved because he hasn't played a full season since 2011, but I mean, when he's on the field, he will win you weeks in fantasy. What were you going to say, CJ?
I'm not saying, and that's exactly the point I'm saying. I mean, he's going to get his targets, but I'm saying as a defense, you're defending the Patriots. You cannot focus on just stopping Gronk. That's the thing. In the past, that's how they've been able to do it. So you're going to have to spread that ball out. Spread that ball out when it comes to defense, and that's going to open things up for Gronk because they're not going to be able to double team him because they have so many weapons there.
Agreed. Moving on, our number 2 consensus tight end, Greg Olsen. Maybe a shock to some, maybe to others, not so much. Now, we're already divided. I have him at 4, CJ at 3. Jason, you're the one pulling him all the way up here. You have him at 2. He's currently going as the number 4, where I have him as the 4th pick in the 5th round. So, obviously, we all like Greg Olsen. So, Jason, why don't you start off and tell us why we're so high on Greg Olsen, and even after kind of the let off of the throttle that he had last year, we're still riding high with him for the 2017 season.
Yeah, let's talk about that. He had a down year last season. Still played all 16 games, still had 1,000 yards. Okay, only 3 touchdowns. That was the big knock. And obviously that offense was sputtering, and they did not play well at all, starting from the quarterback all the way down. Now, you look at the number of targets he had. Even though he was playing bad, he still had 129 targets. I mean, that is a lot of targeting. The only tight end that I'm pretty sure the only tight end that had more was Kyle Rudolph, with 132. So that's nuts. He's still getting tons and tons of targets. He is the number 1 target on that offense. And like we said, had a down year, still finished second. Still finished with 1,000 yards as a tight end. So I'm very high on Greg Olsen. Yes, he's an older tight end, but you know what? He's the ageless wonder. He's still awesome. And I think he's going to have a better year this year. And I believe that entire Panther offense will bounce back a bit this year.
Okay.
He's not like Greg Olsen, man, because even the garbage that they had in the receiver position, this dude still was effective. Cam still looks for this guy, even in going into this year. I know people are predicting that they're going to be better. I still see Greg Olsen still being that guy because I'm not like what I'm seeing out of Kevin Benjamin. I'm not like what I'm seeing out of Devin Funchess. They bring in a rookie in. What was it? Samuel? I think it's Chris Samuel or something like that. Curtis Samuel was the guy they brought in the draft. They got him there. Curtis Samuel. So you got him. Mm-hmm. So you got two guys that have so careers so far in this offense, and then you bring in a rookie. Then you got Christian McCaffrey. But I think the two biggest targets that's going to be in this offense is going to be between Greg Olsen and Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. So I like Greg Olsen. He's productive. The man continues to put up 1,000 yards each and every season. That's consistency. So that's something that I like. And the man still gets the job done at his age, man. So I like him, and that's why I put him at number 2.
Well, I'm the lowest on him, but again, this is more or less nitpicking. I have him at 4, and to your point, the age is a factor to me. He is 32 years old. He's right at that point where the cliff tends to be really rather steep. But, who's to say he can't do it? He's played all 16 games every single year of his career except for his rookie year in 2007. So, he's an Iron Man. That's awesome. Love to see it.
Consistent.
Again, down year last year, but so was the whole position group. And you said he broke 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns was the downer, but even as you said, in a down year, still the tight end too. My biggest concern with him is kind of twofold. There's a lot of pass catching weapons there, and we know that they're trying to turn Cam Newton into more of a pocket passer, and I don't think that's what he's good at. I believe the tape has shown that. I think history has shown that. I think that we have seen that Cam Newton is a much more productive quarterback when he's scrambling and able to make plays with his legs. That allows players like Greg Olsen to get open because it sucks the linebackers up. So I don't know. That's why I'm a little bit down on Greg Olsen, but obviously not enough to knock him out of my top 5. This is just little nitpicking things that I'm concerned about. It's really just the cliff and the offensive philosophy as a whole, which might be shifting to more short to intermediate stuff with the addition of oh my God, why am I blanking? Christian McCaffrey. So, those are just my little thoughts about it. Moving on. Number 3, we have Jordan Reed. Now, Washington Redskins, we have him at number 3. He is currently going as the number 3 tight end, as the 8th pick in the 4th round. Jason, you have him the lowest at 6, while CJ and I both have him at 2. So you are definitely bringing him down. So, is this mostly risk mitigation on your part?
It is entirely risk mitigation on my part. Okay, he's extremely talented. Okay, he does amazing things. I don't like small tight ends, and he's only 6'2", so he's small for a tight end. That's an issue for me, but he's undeniably a great pass catcher. My issue is he has not completed a season his entire career, and that bothers me. That's always going to bother me. Also, not a lot of yardage. I mean, I guess for a tight end, he's got a lot of yardage, but 686 yards last season. He played his best year was 2015, where he played 14 games. So he only missed 2 games that year, and he had a 952 yards. So that's awesome. But that was the outlier. Every other year he's played, it's been under 700 yards. So that's my issue with Jordan Reed. I don't like the fact that he has been hurt a lot. Also, the kind of injuries that he's had bothers me.
Yeah, man. I told Jason gets a great argument right there when it comes to the health concern. That's the only really knock you got on him. But how he fits in the offense, man. Kirk Cousins looks for him. They have a great relationship. I mean, kind of just like Cam and Greg Olsen. So that's a plus. But the really only knock on him is just the injuries. But going into this season, their wide receivers are decent. But I think the main focal point in this offense is Jordan Reed. So as long as he can stay healthy and the rest, when it comes to stats, it speaks for itself that this man's productive in the offense.
Oh, yeah.
See, Jordan Reed is that guy to me, and I have him at 2, and that's solely because his ceiling is there. I think he is probably the only tight end that I can realistically say, if both him and Rob Gronkowski played an entire season, that Jordan Reed would have a realistic shot of catching him and maybe passing him, especially with the way things have gone. They lost 2 1,000-yard receivers in Washington, and Pierre Garçon, Deshaun Jackson. So what do they have there? They have Josh Doxson, a guy who is coming back from injury, going to his sophomore year, basically his rookie year because he missed the majority of last year, has to build repertoire with Kirk Cousins. They brought in Terrell Pryor, has to build repertoire with Kirk Cousins. So the only really proven pass-catching option that they have is Jamison Crowder. And the offense has really always kind of been going through Jordan Reed to begin with. So that repertoire and that opportunity and everything has me thinking that Jordan Reed is going to
feast. You mean rapport, right?
I do. Okay,
just checking.
I know. I
was like repertoire.
It kind of applies.
It's okay.
It kind of applies. Regardless, it could if you're crazy enough. Now the thing is, he is always injured. As you mentioned, he's never played an entire season, but much like Gronk, when he is healthy, he puts up week-winning numbers at the position. He is a monster. Though, as you mentioned, his injuries are scary. He has had 7 concussion times that he's been out for concussion protocol, I should say. Other than that, it's been a lot of lower body leg injuries, so these are things that kind of come with the reckless playing style. We like to make fun of Thomas Rawls by saying that he kind of throws inhibition into the wind and just sacrifices his body for an extra yard or 2. Jordan Reed kind of plays that same way, where he will do whatever it seems like to pick up some extra yards, and that's been leading to a lot of injuries. As you mentioned, part of that could be because he is a smaller tight end, 6'2", 246. He's got more of a wide receiver frame than a tight end frame, but I mean, he is a monster for fantasy production. So, I mean, the ceiling being there, if he's able to play double-digit games, or obviously if he's able to play a full season, he will be worth that 4th-round pick. I mean, I'm not going to pay it, but I know a lot of people will, and he will return on that value. So I do really like Jordan Reed, though I completely get the risk mitigation, 100%. If we're trying to avoid risk altogether, we might not have Gronk or Reed in our top 4. So just saying. Speaking of number 4, let's move on to Travis Kelce, Kansas City tight end. Now, he is going as the number 2 tight end right now. He was the number 1 tight end just a year ago. Number 4 for us consensus. I have him at 3. So does Jason. CJ, you have him down at 4. So, guys, talk to me about Travis Kelce really quickly.
Well, the talent is there. I'm just waiting to see that the next level. I'm waiting for that Tom Brady and Gronk type of relationship, or Kirk Cousins and Jordan Reed's type of relationship with him and Alex Smith. I'm waiting to see that, because if they take it to that next level, then no doubt he's a number one or number two tight end right now. But the numbers that I'm seeing, I'm not seeing enough. I want to see some more, and I feel like I just keep getting like a taste of how good he can be, and then I want more, and I just never get to that next level. I'm like, you know what? No doubt, this dude is this.
Well, bottom
I
line,
just don't get it.
I think that he's kind of capped right now by that offense and by Alex Smith being the quarterback. It's not a high volume passing offense, and I don't think it's going to be as long as Alex Smith is there. They have a very balanced attack. They like to run the ball. I just don't know if the volume and the production, or really just the aggressiveness, is there to make Travis Kelce become the high volume guy. I mean, obviously he put up 1,000 yards last year as the number one tight end. He got 85 receptions. That's all great, but Jeremy Maclin missed the majority of the year last year. He was banged up the whole time. Tyreek Hill kind of came in, and Kelce and Hill kind of were able to capitalize with the less targets in the offense. But if they all stay healthy, I feel like we may have seen his potential ceiling. Not that he can't surpass what he's done, but I mean, 4 touchdowns, where he was one of the main and only healthy pass catching options. He's never gotten more than 5 touchdowns in a season. That's really killer, especially for the tight end position for fantasy. What were we gonna say, Jason?
I was gonna say I'm gonna kind of disagree with both of you on a couple things. First off, 117 targets last season. That's a lot of targets. His big problem, like you said, was the 4 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards. He is, even when Macklin's healthy, he's the number one target. And the reason for that is because the way Alex Smith plays, he plays risk mitigation football. He throws mid to short routes in the middle of the field. He doesn't like to go to his receivers. He likes to look for his tight end, his safety blanket, because he protects the ball first and foremost. So Kelce, he's going to get a lot of targets, and he gets a lot of targets. If he got more touchdowns, this wouldn't even be a conversation. He'd be in my, I would have put him number 2 for me, right behind Gronk. But I really like Kelce in this situation because of the way Alex Smith plays football. Once you get a different guy, if Mahomes becomes the guy there eventually, I would definitely, which is going to happen. I'm going to definitely be dropping Travis Kelce down because Mahomes is going to be looking down the field for Maclin. He's going to be looking for Tyreek Hill,
So then basically Kelce is a good PPR tight end versus a standard tight end.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. He had 85 receptions last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, his big knock, and you can do the same argument for Greg Olsen, but his big knock is the touchdowns. I mean, yeah, the yardage is good, receptions is good, but what I'm investing a high pick in a tight end, I'm gonna need some more touchdowns. Like, he's not putting up the touchdown numbers. He's getting touches and yardage, but he's not putting up numbers like Gronk or Jordan Reed. But I feel like he can. But just like you guys said, he's capped because of Alex Smith. And then if Patrick Mahomes goes in there, it's the writing's kind of on the wall that he's probably reached the heights of his powers in this offense.
No, I don't want to necessarily.
What you'll see is less yardage, and I'm sorry. Well, if Mahomes becomes the starter there, I think you'll see less yardage, more touchdowns. I think he'll be more like a normal tight end, if you will, than what he's right now. Because right now he's the guy that moves that team down the field.
Well, I think that the problem is that they also like to run the ball a lot in the red zone. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns in the red zone last year of his 4. So, I mean, used there, I guess. I mean, the problem is, again, passing in the red zone, they don't do a lot of it. So, Travis, but to your point, CJ, as a PPR tight end, yeah, I mean, he was the best one to have last year. 85 receptions, that led the... Actually, no, Dennis Pitt had 86. Regardless, he was right up there. So,
85.
With 85. Well, I said Dennis Pitt had 86.
Doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah. Moving on.
Travis Kelce had 85. All right, so just things to think about. Moving on. Number 5, we have Jimmy Graham of the now of the Seattle Seahawks. I keep wanting to think of him as the New Orleans Saints.
Been there for a while, man.
I know. It's the way my brain works. He was so good with the Saints. We have him at 5. He's going as the number 5, as the second pick in the 6th round. Now, I have him actually at 5. CJ, the lowest at 8. Jason, higher than I am at 4. So, guys, talk to me about Jimmy Graham. I
mean, I got him at 8 just because, I I just haven't seen enough where I can be able to say that this is him and Russell Wilson. You know, this is going to be a good marriage going to this season. That he's gonna take an even bigger step than the numbers that he put up this past season. I just don't see it. I believe what I've seen in this offense when it comes to the tight end, even though their tight end before is not the talent of Jimmy Graham, they wasn't really utilizing him like that. He was just spur of the moment plays. The other pieces that they have there, I think they're going to take another step forward. And then they bringing in your boy Eddie Lacy as far as the running game, so I think they're going to take advantage of that more. So I'm a little, I'm kind of looking at it like I need to see more from this before I can move him up. So that's kind of where I got him.
That's fair.
So I have him at 4. And the reason I do is because there's something about that magical number 3 season, and this will be his 3rd season in Seattle. And since he's been in Seattle, he has improved every single one of his statistics pretty much from year to year. From the first year, he only played 11 games, 48 receptions, 605 yards, 2 touchdowns. Second year last year, 16 games, he played the whole season, almost 1,000 yards, 923 yards, 6 touchdowns. And here's another thing. His average was 14.2 yards. Okay? That is his highest average of his career. His highest average came in Seattle, not in New Orleans, in Seattle. He is getting better and building rapport with Russell Wilson. And last year, when he turned it on in those games where he actually scored some touchdowns and looked good, it got scary because he was beating people up. So I expect him to take another step this year. I expect him to take a big leap into being a contributor this year in that offense.
Yeah, I agree with your line of thinking as well, Jason. Pretty simply, he was still, he was easing back into the offense coming off of his injury that ended his 2015 campaign. The patellar tendon, man, that's a tough injury.
No one has ever come back from that in that way.
Not in the time period he did, and to be as productive as he was. And if you watch,
exactly.
He was being eased in, and then Russell Wilson got hurt. So by the time he was back into feeling strong and being confident and playing well and being a role in the offense, and Russell Wilson got healthy, that you can see a very notable curve in his usage, his production as the season went on. If they continue to build off that going into next year, we could be seeing potentially a Jimmy Graham of old in New Orleans, and I'm all about that. And that's why I have him ranked in my top 5, because I would feel very comfortable having him as my tight end to go through the season now at this point, proving that he's healthy, a more important part of the offense. I still think he's going to be the main pass-catching option in the red zone as well. They've got the running game going again, hopefully, with Eddie Lacy being there. So I really like him. I don't know if I would, but this is me. I wait on tight ends. But, if I was a normal person, I could see where he's going right now in the 6th round. That sounds pretty fair to me. Anything to add? Or you guys
If I was a normal person.
If I was a normal person, but I'm not. I wait on these positions. Anything to add? Are you guys ready to move on? Let's move on. Number 6, we have Delaney Walker, Tennessee Titans. Now, we have him, consensus 6. He's going number 7 as the 2nd pick in the 7th round. Now, you guys both have him at 5, and I have him at 9. So, guys, tell me, obviously, I think what is the more commonly perceived point, why you're so high on Delaney Walker.
You're just looking at what you... Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Okay. Delaney Walker is one of those weird cases where he always shows up, he always puts up good numbers, he always does well, but no one gives him any love. Nobody really remembers him when you get into these rankings and stuff. He ends up, falling down, maybe sometimes out of the top 10. The guy, for the longest time, was the target in Tennessee, and he only had 1 year where he went over 1,000 yards, but he caught those catches at very important times. Was able to move the ball. He always had double-digit averages, which is good for a tight end. 6 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns over the last 4 years. So this guy is a big-time contributor in Tennessee, and I love to watch this guy play. Now, he's an older tight end. We talked about that. He's not a big tight end. He's more of a receiver than a big Gronk type. So that's one of the reasons that he slides down out of our top 5 consensus rankings. But you have to watch out for this guy because he makes big plays when they're needed.
Yeah, big thing I like it is the relationship with him, Marcus Mariota. They've been doing a big chemistry the last couple of years since Marcus been drafted to the team. He's been putting up good numbers with them. Now I know probably people concerned about the additions that they made there. Maybe those targets will go away from him. I can probably see a couple targets getting away from him, but I can also see his touchdowns probably going up just because the additions that they made on the outside. If they're taking another step forward in the running game, that's going to put them in better position to be able to score. And I like the possibilities when it comes to that. Just like Jason said, I mean, I think he's very. I think that people disrespect him as far as what he's done, in this system, and just the possibilities of what he can be able to do, going into this season. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, look, I don't want to shoot down anything you guys have said, and I am most notably the lowest. I have him at 9.
But you're gonna.
No, I'm just simply going to point out a couple things that have me taking pause. Because I do really like Delaney Walker. I do. I was really pushing for him last year. He was one of the guys that I was trying to acquire in most of my leagues because you could still kind of get him later than a lot of these guys we've already referenced and a few more that we're going to. And I like his usage in the offense. I mean, obviously, though, this was coming off his 2015 campaign, which was both the breakout and I think kind of the abnormality to his career. That standout magical season where he had 94 receptions, broke 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. So I get that. But the problem is that through his career, he has not been that guy. And the rest of the time he's spent in Tennessee kind of shows a more consistent story of him getting around 60 receptions, around 800 yards, and somewhere around the same amount of touchdowns, 5 or 6 touchdowns, which is not a bad total. It's not great game breaking. It's not a guy I want top 5 because I feel like his ceiling is definitely capped. Plus the addition of Corey Davis. I was like Corey. I want to say Coleman, but I knew that wasn't right. Corey Davis. They also got Taywan Taylor. They drafted Jonnu Smith, who could be his eventual successor, who they're probably going to want to work in as well. I just don't think it's a high enough passing volume offense. We know, as we've been talking about, how much they like the exotic smash mouth running game. I just don't know if there's enough volume for him to do much better than what has been his average, which is, again, 60-some receptions for about 700-800 yards. And I don't know, maybe his touchdown total comes down as well. We'll have to see. So that's why I'm just not super high on him, because I feel like his ceiling has started to come down. Plus, he's going to be 33 during the season. So, again, we talk about that cliff, and he's at that age where it could happen. And he's been injured each of the last 4 seasons. He's missed at least a game. So it's just things that concern me. I'm not down on Delaney Walker, but that's why I have bumped him down a couple spots on my draft board. But I still like him. Let's move on, though. Number 7, we have Tyler Eifert, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we have him at 7. He's currently going as the number 6. Now, I have him at 8, CJ at 6, Jason at 7. So, I mean, let's start with you, CJ, since you're the highest.
This guy...
Or Jason, you can start, by all means.
No, I was just going to say, this guy annoys the crap out of me because I love him. I mean, 6'6", 250 pounds. He's fast for his size. He's awesome. In 2015, he caught 13 touchdowns. That is nuts. He only played 13 games. That's a touchdown a game, But he's hurt every year. Every year this dude gets hurt. He'll play 15 games his first year, 1 game his second year, 13 games in 2015, and 8 games last year. Oh, it's so frustrating because if he played a full season, this is a top 5, maybe even a top 3 tight end. If he can get through an entire season, and do the kind of production that he's had, because look what he did last year. Again, we're talking about touchdowns, 5 touchdowns in 8 games. That's excellent, So, really drives me insane, this guy.
Yeah, Jason basically hit the nail on the head. You know what I mean? It's just the injuries. Talent is there. I like the chemistry with him and Andy Dalton. It's a trend with my tight ends. They have good chemistry with their quarterbacks. This is another one. So it's it just sucks because it's just the injury bugs that hit him because he's effective in the offense. Andy Dalton looks for him, when AJ Green is locked down. Now you got an addition of John Ross being there, and then you have your boy Joe Mixon coming in there too. So I see defenses getting spread out. So I like him even more. It's just now the health. Can he stay healthy? Because if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be dangerous this season.
Yep. This is a little bit of everything we just kind of talked about. I agree with everything you guys have said, and I'm the lowest on him, and my reasoning is very similar to my thoughts on Delaney Walker. I really love Tyler Eifert. He is an insane weapon, especially in the red zone. Not a PPR back, not even a little bit, but, I mean, he is a great red zone weapon. You mentioned that 2015 season where he had 13 touchdowns in 13 games. I mean, I remember specifically one of those games where he caught 3 of them in one game, so obviously let you down in other weeks because he doesn't get the yardage, but when he is on fire. This is one of the few tight ends that I was talking about before, who if I was able to say he's going to play 16 games, I would put him in that competition with Gronk and Reed as being one of those top ceiling elite tight ends. Problem is, he's not that guy. It's taken him 4 years to go almost 1,500 yards, which is, what some tight ends easily do in 2 years. It's concerning. Like I said, he's a red zone weapon, and that offense is going to struggle in my mind. They have got a lot of weapons, a lot of mouths to feed, but that offensive line is hot garbage. So I don't know how much time Andy Dalton's going to have to pass. I don't know how much they're going to be playing from behind. The Bengals are a team I'm actually very excited to deep dive on more. They're one of my division rivals, so I'm going to be definitely focused on them a lot in the coming weeks and months as we're getting more into the analytics. But that's why I'm low on him, because there's too many unknowns, and there's always the high risk of injury. So, and it's not one of these guys that just misses, a game here, a game there. I mean, one game, one season, only half the season another. So these are concerning thoughts to me. But the low floor, high ceiling, really boom bust tight end right there. So, all right, we all agree. Let's move on. At number 7, no, that was number 7. At number 8, we have Kyle Rudolph, a name that you might have been expecting to hear a little bit sooner, but you're hearing him now at number 8. He's currently going as the number 8. So I have him at 6. Jason, you have him at 8. CJ at 7. Somebody talk to me about Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph, another tight end that has a great chemistry with his quarterback, and this is going to be his second year. And you look at the stats when it comes to Sam Bradford, what he does with his tight ends, the history he has, they get a lot of love. And I see the same thing happening for Kyle Rudolph. This is a guy I've been banging the table for years, ever since he came into the league. I liked him. I liked him in the offense, man. He was talented, but they just would people, in this Vikings organization would just not utilize him good enough. But when Sam Bradford got traded there last season, I said, one guy that's going to benefit from Sam Bradford being there is going to be Kyle Rudolph, and his numbers show it. So I'm just doing the same thing. I'm rolling that over to this season. Kyle Rudolph is going to have another good year.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be raising Kyle Rudolph up my rankings, I think. You look at what he did in 2015. Okay, 49 receptions for 495 yards. Okay, that's pretty good with 5 touchdowns. That's okay for a tight end. Then you look at what he did last year with Sam Bradford as the quarterback, as CJ already kind of mentioned. 83 receptions for 840. He almost doubled his production, and 7 touchdowns. So that shows me that that's a quarterback that loves to use that safety blanket in the tight end. And this guy is 6'6", 265 pounds, very fast for his size. I really like Kyle Rudolph, and like I said, I think I'm going to be inching him up my rankings a bit.
That's fair. Let's see. Kyle Rudolph, he's currently going as the 9th pick in the 2nd round, so it's definitely a lot of disrespect for him. The thing is, for me, with Kyle Rudolph is, yes, Sam Bradford is there, and by all accounts, he's going to be the starting quarterback this year, and Sam Bradford really does love to throw to his tight ends. He's done that throughout his career. Mm-hmm. My concerns are simply just the offense as a whole. They've made seemingly a huge commitment to running the ball and running the ball better this year. Sam Bradford has got a lot of weapons that they're going to have to feed, and I think Kyle Rudolph is still going to be a very integral part of that offense, but I don't know. Something to me, just based off his career, has me just a little bit down. I mean, he's usually healthy. He's only missed games on 2 of his 6 seasons, and this is a guy that we've been pretty high on for a couple of years, and he finally kind of had that breakout year. It's a 1-year sample size. Can he repeat? Absolutely. Is he going to? We're going to see. I mean, we all agree that we have him basically ranked evenly, so I think we're all pretty high on him. It's just going to be a matter of if it works out that way. I feel like with the weapons that they have, I mean, this 6'6" tight end, he's still going to be probably the main pass-catching threat in the red zone, though. So I do like Kyle Rudolph. I don't want to make it sound like I'm really down on him, because I'm not. I think he's just capped by the offense. Am I? Oh yeah, I was.
Yeah.
That's right. Look at me. My concern is simply yardage more than anything. That turns him a great PPR option, good red zone weapon, but he doesn't get a lot of yardage. So that's kind of if you're in a standard league, it's a lower floor. If you're in PPR league, that floor obviously gets raised quite a bit. So just things to think about. At number 9, we have Martellus Bennett, Green Bay Packers. Now, I have him the lowest at 13, CJ at 11, Jason at 10. He's currently going as the number 8, so we're actually pretty low on him as a show, as the 7th pick in the 7th round. So, guys, talk to me about why you are higher than me on Martellus Bennett.
I'm actually surprised you guys are as low as you are on him, because I thought I'd be the lowest on him. I'm not a massive believer in Martellus Bennett. And part of the reason is just because he doesn't get a lot of receptions. He does get decent yardage, but not a lot of receptions. Only 55 receptions last season with the Patriots. Before that with Chicago, 53 receptions. His best year, he got 90, which was obviously an outlier year. If you look at the rest of his stats, 916 yards. That's the only time he ever went over 700 yards. So I'm not a massive believer in this guy. I think of him more as kind of an all-rounder, somebody that blocks more than he really catches. But he's got talent. He's a big body. He moves very well. My main issue with him, like I said, is more of a blocker in my opinion. And it's a brand new team. It's Green Bay. He's going to a different, it's a new face in a new place. That's why I have him down at 10. But again, like I said, I'm actually kind of shocked you guys are lower on him than I am.
I have him as a late round flyer for me, just because I feel like I do feel that new faces in new places. I think that struggle is going to hit him for a little bit, but I actually see him coming on. I see him coming on in November, October, November range, and then him and Rodgers might start taking off, and you're going to probably start seeing him getting double touchdowns a game. I mean, because it's all on Rodgers. I mean, if Rodgers trusts him, he's going to do his thing, and he's going to get the looks, and you're going to see him, and he's probably going to rise up. You'll be like, wow, dang, I didn't expect Martellus Bennett to be that guy. I mean, he's talented, but I thought Rodgers was going to wait a little bit. But I mean, that's how I see it.
My reasoning why I'm the lowest on him is simply because, and this is counterintuitive, and actually we did a big breakdown on this when he first signed there back a couple months ago. It's Aaron Rodgers. As we always like to say, he is the best fantasy quarterback. He loves to throw the ball in the red zone. He throws it more than any other quarterback does in the red zone. And he is hyper efficient when he does so. Problem is, he features his wide receivers. He has only given us 2 top, tight end ones for fantasy purposes in his starting career. One was Jermichael Finley all the way back in 2011, where he finished as the tight end 5, and then Richard Rodgers back in 2015, which if he hadn't caught one of those Hail Mary passes, he would have actually, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I believe he finished as the tight end 17. So that's one play that made all the difference. So it's one of those things that, yes, he's going to get volume, and he probably is going to be the best tight end that they've had there in some time. So maybe he gets used a little bit more, but history has shown that he's probably not going to have as high of a ceiling as he might have if he had gone somewhere else. And that again, is counterintuitive when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. But, I mean, it's just the facts. It's the way it has been historically. I like him. He has been a good pass-catching tight end through his career. Kind of ebbs and flows. He gets hot and he gets cold. He usually starts off the season pretty strong. At least that was his history in Chicago. But, new team. Who's to say how it's going to play out? But I just know that there's a lot of mouths to feed. They want to get that running game going. Obviously, Jordy Nelson gets a ton of touchdowns. Devontae Adams gets a lot of touchdowns. Randall Cobb, they like to use a lot. He's got a great rapport with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not sure how much volume is going to go to Martellus Bennett when it's a position that's not heavily featured in that offense. That's why I'm the lowest on him, and I have him ranked outside of my tight end ones. So let's move on to number 10, where we have Julius Thomas, now of the Miami Dolphins. Now, I am by far the highest on him. I have him at 7, which might be a little high, but I'm still comfortable with it. CJ, you have him at 13. Jason all the way down at 15. He's currently going as the number 13, so kudos to you, CJ, as the 11th pick in the 12th round. So since you guys are both lower than I am, talk to me about Julius Thomas. I mean, we talked about, obviously, the news that he might be one of the more featured focal points of the offense, but you didn't really get into how that sways your opinion too drastically. So the floor is yours. Talk to me.
Well, yeah, I'll talk here. So listen, man, I know ever since the trade went down, you've been, going up there saying that, this is good and we're gonna see it. His best years has been with this offensive coordinator that's now the coach. And I can get all that. I can get down with that. But this is why I'm so reserved on it, because just off of recency bias. The man has not been healthy. He's not been healthy. I mean, he's probably even worse than the other guys that we talked about. He's up to that level with it. And then when it comes to this offense, man, I don't like the fact that they're saying that they're having designated plays for this cat. I don't like that. I like the flow that they've had with Ryan Tannehill. I don't want them going back to putting this dude in the box, because this guy was bad for many years. He was not that good. And now he's starting to have a little success with Adam Gates. Don't try to put this dude back in the box and try to force the ball to people. Don't do that. Let this dude go out there, let him flow. If he sees him, good. With designated plays, I don't like the sound of that, because it sounds like he's forcing something. And I just don't like seeing Ryan Tannehill forced to do something because he has a bad track record when it comes to that. And then I'm reserved because I need to see it. I need to see him healthy. I need to see him going out there flowing. Now, to be honest, he's the best tight end they have on their roster right now. So I can see that. I can see him getting a step up. But, I mean, that's not really saying much when you had Jordan Cameron barely as a thing last year. So I need to see something from me when it comes to Julius Thomas.
Okay.
So Julius Thomas has played for 6 years. He has caught for 2,018 yards. That's not good. That's not good at all. His two best years, with Peyton Manning, the reason he had good years is because he had 12 touchdowns both of those 2 years. Okay, that's really good. And Peyton Manning loved, I guess. Oh, I miss him. He loves to look for tight ends in the end zone. All right, 489 yards in 2014, so not fantastic. Okay, just 12 touchdowns. That's what gave him that. Now, through all this, he has never completed a season, as we've said. And the last 2 years have been the worst of his career. 9 games he played last season, So this is mostly risk mitigation for me. Okay, Julius Thomas is a decent tight end, and again, you can see what he did with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time throwing in the ball, caught 12 touchdowns both of those 2 years. But with a not Peyton Manning quarterback, he has not proven himself yet to be a dangerous weapon. So if he develops rapport with Tannehill, like CJ said, and they don't try to force the ball to him, which is going to cause a lot of problems, it's going to make a disjointed offense, then he starts to fit in. But I don't think that happens for a couple of years.
I mean, possible, and you guys aren't wrong there. It's definitely a possibility. But to me, the thing is that Julius Thomas, and you guys have said it, so I'm just going to rehash just a little bit. His breakout, his standout years was when he was with Adam Gase, offensive coordinator in Denver, who is now his head coach, who brought him in, who is saying he's now getting plays designed for Julius Thomas. He knows his skill set. He knows what he does. He knows what he does well. He knows how he can use them. Now, and like you guys have said, he does not have Peyton Manning in his prime as his quarterback. So I don't see him getting to that 800 yards and 12 touchdowns mark again. But if he's a focal point in the offense, say he gets around 600 yards, and maybe if he's a real focal point in the red zone, because I don't see anyone demanding as many targets in the red zone as he will. I don't see Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, maybe Devontae Parker, if he can actually become the player that we think he could be, might be a threat for red zone targets. But let's say, for instance, he gets double-digit touchdowns. He gets 10. 600 yards and 10 touchdowns would have been enough to get him as top 5 tight end last year. So, I mean, I'm just saying that the ceiling is there. The question is, how far will he climb because of Ryan Tannehill? Because other than that, everything else is basically the same. Same offensive system, same offensive coordinator. He's going to be playing the same way. So that's just why I like him. Could it go the opposite way? Absolutely. Has he played a full season? No, not in his career. He's usually banged up. So these are all concerns, and that's why I don't have him in my top 5. But I do really still like the upside of Julius Thomas. And a guy that you can get in the 12th round, almost in the 13th round, I'll take that all day. That's one of the guys I'd be happy to wait for when everybody else is grabbing taking their Jimmy Grahams and their Delaney Walkers in the 6th and 7th round, I'll happily take Julius Thomas in the 13th round. All right, so let's move on. At number 11, we have Zach Ertz, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we have him at 11. He's going currently as the number 12 tight end off the board as the 11th pick in the 10th round. Both Jason and I have him at 14. CJ the highest at 10. Go figure, Homer. So, CJ, why should we be higher on Zach Ertz?
Well, Zach Ertz, you see last season, man. I mean, he got injured during training camp. So he didn't really get to build that rapport like he should have and would have if he was healthy. And that probably his numbers probably would have went up even more because you saw towards the end of the season, his numbers started going up, touchdowns started going up. So I like the chemistry that him and Carson Wentz are starting to build. I know he's going to be a factor in the red zone. I know even though they brought in Alshon Jeffrey, brought in LeGarrette Blount, I think he's still going to be a guy that Carson's going to look for and be able to give him the ball. Like the overall talent that he is. So, I mean, at number 10 for me, that's what I was looking at. And I just look at the upside, and I like the possibilities of what he can be able to do this season coming up.
Okay.
If they played the entire season in December, Zach Ertz would be top 3.
Tight end number 1.
I mean, he'd be tight end number 1. Because by that time, usually Gronkowski's hurt. So,
also true.
No one's going to be in there. This is a frustrating guy. He is a super, super frustrating guy because you see the ability, over 800 yards the last 2 seasons, and the year before that, 700 yards. And the last 2 seasons, he hasn't finished the season, 15 games and 14 games. So he's missed a couple games out there and still was able to put up 1,800 yards. That's excellent. Only 4 touchdowns last season, 2 touchdowns the season before that. So if he had more touchdowns again, we would be having a different conversation about Zach Ertz. We'd be talking about him being up in the top 5. But the problem is that he still hasn't really happened yet. I mean, it's like he's frustrating because he's so good, but he just hasn't happened. It's just like he hasn't bloomed. I need to see him bloom and just start catching touchdowns and dominating games because he has the ability to do that. He just has not done it yet. And with that young rookie quarterback coming into his own, maybe this year we see that out of Zach Ertz, or maybe we wait until the next year when Wentz has his 3rd year, and maybe we see that then. But either way, I definitely think that Ertz is on the incline. He's going, he's on his way up. I'm just not sure he's there yet this year.
Yeah, young guy. And, you used to say that he's not going to do better than he has. I just have a lot of concerns with him. And a lot of it is just simply the offense that he's in. I mean, we're talking about an offense, again, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, and I don't want to knock on the Eagles at all. But, 16 passing touchdowns last season. That's not a lot to go around. And then they go ahead and they bring in people like Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, players that are going to be used a lot. They bring in LeGarrette Blount, who's going to be rushing touchdowns, so they're going to be more productive in the red zone, most likely. I just don't know how many touchdowns there are to go around. Now, I mean, that being said, he only got 4 last year, which ties his career high. So, I mean, maybe it comes down to yardage. Well, they didn't really have any pass-catching weapons last year, and now they've got 2 proven ones. So, I don't know if his targets change. I expect his yardage to go down. I don't see his touchdowns really having an opportunity to go up unless Carson Wentz takes a big step forward this year. So, that's my concern, because I really do. I like Zach Ertz a lot. I was very high on him last year. Of course, his injury kind of derailed it, but he got going as the season went on. The additions this offseason seem to be so overwhelming, so many mouths to feed. I just can't get excited about him at this point of the offseason because I just know that he's going to be buried in that depth chart and progression. And if we were able to say over his career he's used heavily in the red zone, that'd be one thing. Maybe he has that repertoire with Carson Wentz, but only 4 receiving touchdowns last year kind of tells a different story. So that's just my concern. Mm-hmm. But again, we'll see. I do like Ertz. We'll just see how it plays out. And last guy we have to talk about today at number 12. We're already over an hour. Dang it, we were so close. Eric Ebron, Detroit Lions. Now, we're pretty spread out on Eric Ebron as a show. I have him at 10. CJ at 14. CJ actually higher than him than I thought you were going to be. And Jason all the way down at 19. Jason, why no love for Eric Ebron? He's currently going as the number 16 tight end.
Why?
Yes.
Did you say why no love for Eric Ebron?
Why no love?
I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
This was supposed to be his year. This is his 3rd year, right? Mm-hmm. 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. One touchdown? Mm-hmm. There's players you've never even heard of that scored 1 touchdown this year. Okay, and this was the starting tight end for the Detroit Lions, and Matthew Stafford, one of the better quarterbacks in this league. He scored 1 touchdown. That annoys the crap out of me, all right? He's a tight end. His job is to score touchdowns, and at least give me 6.
Were you hurt by
give
him?
Me 5 or 6.
Were you hurt by him, Jason?
I wasn't. I didn't have him. I didn't have him on my team. And I didn't have him on any of my teams, I wanted to see something from him because I was going to start targeting him after this season if he had a breakout season, and he did not. He underwhelmed. Now, to be fair, and I will check myself here.
Okay.
To be fair, he had a crap ton of touchdowns called back on him.
Yes, he did.
I have never seen one player get so many calls called back on him because of the rest of his team ever. And it was shocking. I was watching this going, what is going on with this team? Do they just not like Eric Ebron? He's going to score. Hold somebody. So that was tough to watch. And I will say this, there is hope, because if you look at his first 3 years, 248 yards, 537 yards, 711 yards. So he has been on the upswing. 25 receptions, 47, 10, 61 last year. He's been on the upswing every single year so far in those statistical categories. That is good. What is bad is he has yet to finish a year. So all of those reasons is why I am low on him, very low on him. I got to see him do something, more than 1 touchdown. And he got a lot called back, but he still should have been in that end zone more often than 1.
Okay, that's fair. CJ, do you want to weigh in here?
I'd rather not. I don't have anything positive to say about Eric Ebron.
Dang. Then why do you have him at 14? Wow. All right, I will concede a couple of your points there, Jason. Yes, 1 touchdown. That's really sad. But he had 711 yards last year while missing. It says he plays in 13 games, but he actually missed significant portions of other games. So, really, I would say he played maybe like 11 or 12 games.
Doesn't really make me feel better.
Hold on. But, he was hurt early. When he came back, he was on fire. His average went up this year. His yards per game went up. He is breaking long plays. He, as you pointed out, had so many plays that were called back. Not just touchdown plays, but also deep receptions. That team, that offensive line was holding all season long. So many holding penalties for that team as a whole. They ranked among the league high. So, if we give him another 3 or 4 touchdowns, which we saw there were holds on, which he got, that were away from the play entirely, shouldn't have even been called, but of course they're going to be because that's the rules, we would be having a completely different discussion about Eric Ebron. He would have landed square in the middle of the tight end ones. So, he's been injured, and I think if he's able to come back and stay healthy, and he's building that repertoire with Matt Stafford. Yes, that was his magical 3rd year. Sometimes they need another year. He came into the league really, really young. He's only 24 years old this season. He came into the league when he was 20, so he's still a young, developing player. I still have high hopes. Some players take longer than others. We know the talent is there. He's a former first-round pick as a tight end, and I think he's going to be one of those sleeper candidates that's going to have easily the ceiling of being able to bust in, break out, be a tight end 1, and he's a guy that you can get for basically nothing in the 13th round as well. I would happily take him. And if
you think he's going to have the year this year that he should have had last year?
I think he absolutely should, because, what did they do? What did they bring in to really compete for touches? It's basically Golden Tate in that offense. Marvin Jones has been a big bust. They brought in 3rd-round rookie wide receiver Kenny Golladay, and that's really it. Nothing else has changed. So I think he's going to be that pass-catching option in the red zone, which is what he was trying to be last year, except for all these plays got pulled back. And you know what? If he doesn't work out as a late 13th-round pick, guess what? I'll stream the position, because a lot of the guys we're not even going to get to talk to today, I'm also really high on. I'll happily stream it. Absolutely. If he gets hurt, who cares? It was a 13th round pick. So I'm all about Eric Ebron. I do really like him this year. I think that he could be a post-type sleeper. I like him a lot. And, again, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I will then have no problems moving on, because I didn't throw a first, or not a first, Gronk's only in the second, a second, 4th, 5th round pick at a tight end.
I wish you would throw a first at Eric Ebron.
I bet you would. You would love that, wouldn't you?
First round pick.
Oh my goodness!
I almost want to do it just to see how that league finishes, but I don't want to put myself through that. So I'm not going to do it.
That'd be fun for me to watch.
Yeah, it'd be great for you guys to watch. So, all right, that's going to do it for us today. Please make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday where we're going to be doing another mock draft. This time we have our individual rankings. We have our consensus rankings. We're going to be kind of drafting off that. The format yet to be decided. If you guys have a preference, comment down below. We do consensus drafts where we all draft one team together and you get to hear us yelling at each other, which is fun for some, kind of stressful for others apparently. I don't know. We get reviews that are kind of funny. We do individual teams. We do auction, PPR, half point, standard, whatever you guys want. It's kind of up in the air right now. So if there's anything in particular you want to see, send us a message, Facebook, Twitter. You can email us. Comment down below if you're on YouTube. Whatever the case may be. And make sure you guys subscribe and come back every Tuesday, Friday. We're going to be here all off season, all regular season, bringing you guys the information you need to hopefully bring home a championship. That's why we do what we do. All these rankings will be available soon as we finalize these early ones on the website, thefantasyfootballfanatics.com as well, if you want to reference things. And as we mentioned, follow us on Twitter. Best way to get in touch with us, submit questions. We get so many direct messages for questions on Twitter. It's kind of insane, at the FF Fanatics. Or you can follow us individually. I'm at GPalmerFFF. CJ is at CJ Hickman89. Jason is at Jason Cabrera13. The strange thing is, we get all these direct messages, but people aren't following the page. We get so many messages and questions from people who aren't following the actual page on Twitter. It's weird. Guys, follow us. It's cool. We send out information. It's good stuff. And we're going to move into our YouTube.
Blind date? Follow the page.
Right? I don't know. We're going to move now into our YouTube exclusive post show, which is usually off-topic, fun stuff to talk about. It can be a little bit of anything, and that is found exclusively on youtube.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. So you guys, if you enjoyed the show, please give us a rating, give us a review, and hey, we're announcing it right now. It's the beginning of June. We are doing a listener league again this year, like we did last year, but we're doing things a little bit differently. If you want to be a part of the listener league, we are doing an iTunes challenge review. So head over to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. Underneath, you can leave your Twitter handle or an email that we can reach you by. And if you are selected, if you win, we will contact you and we'll get you into our listener league. So it doesn't have to be a 5-star review, though we greatly appreciate the help. That really helps the show out a lot. But I mean, if you guys honestly have some criticisms, throw them at us. We can take it. We're happy to develop. So any parting thoughts before we sign off, guys?
Jason, get ready for the trolls for our Tuesday show.
Oh, man. They love me. I think I have the least amount of people to like me on the show right now.
Oh, poor Griffin has to suffer through.
Hey, it's hard to be me.
Poor Griffin.
I know.
That stupid Jason.
It's hard. It's hard to always be right. Griffin. So, all right, we're out of here, everyone. Take care. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Jason is tough to be him when he got beat out the playoffs by your boy. You know what I'm saying?
And beat in the regular season by this one. So
yeah, it's tough.
First time ever. All right.
That was not the first time ever.
And everybody go see Wonder Woman. Bye.